Good evening, everyone. We're live from the radio studios of WBCO and WQEL, and tonight we have a special edition of Coach's Corner where it's just coaches. So we won't have to do some of the things we do with the kids, and it's a good time for you guys to get away from your players. So take a break. But tonight we have Coach Matt Dick from the Galion Tigers, Coach Jake Bruner of the Colonel Crawford Eagles, who will both be playing playoff games, the first round of the playoffs this Friday night. And we also have them with us, Dan Messerschmidt and Davey Jones from the radio stations. And I'm Coach Tim Birie, or I guess I'm not Coach Tim Birie.
You're always Coach
I'm just Tim Birie.
You're always Coach.
But first of all, it's great to have you guys here. And first of all, congratulations on getting to the playoffs. And so I guess the first thing I wanted to talk about tonight is both of you knew you were in the playoffs going into the 10th game. Did it change anything with the way you prepared for it, the way you approached the game, Matt?
We've been injured enough that we were just trying to get through Week 10 clean, and playing Marion Harding, we knew they were a scary opponent. We thought we'd have an advantage up front, so we really tried to run the ball, and we were real successful. The first 4 or 5 drives went for touchdowns. Gabe Ivey ran the ball well. O-line blocked well, made for an easier night. But Marion Harding has those explosive athletes everywhere, so you try to be as smart as you can, try to gather clean with less banging, but on the same note, they're scary. So, I mean, we went in and prepared like any other week. But, yeah, it was nice that we could get up in the first quarter and then try to rest some of our players that we're going to need come a playoff run.
Did you come out pretty healthy?
Yeah, we did. Came out as healthy, or maybe even a little bit more healthy. And hopefully this week we're going to take another step. And, Brax Prosser's still a little bit banged up, but hopefully his toe will calm down a little bit, and we can see some of that magic that he produces on Friday night.
Great. Coach Bruner.
We took the similar approach. I mean, at the same time, we were focused on, hey, if we win this game, we can guarantee that we might be able to we'll get a home game for sure, but maybe 2 if we get another win. And then for us, it was to get number 9. We talked about how many teams at Colonel Crawford had 9 wins, and being part of that, and obviously winning 9 would give us a chance to hopefully win 10. So that's what we focused on, and at the same time, we focused on hopefully coming out healthy, which we did, and anytime you can, get up early on somebody and get a lot of kids in, that's always fun as well too.
Absolutely. Well, then, so you both win Friday night. You're both in the playoffs. You're both probably having at least one home game. Then, what's the process after that? I coach with Matt, so I know what we did usually after games. In fact, it's kind of funny. When we were at Fredericktown after the game, it was, we went into the head coach's classroom and ate pizza, watched the game, reviewed the game, and then we all went home, except Matt and the head coach slept in the head coach's room because they had a long drive back home. So we had to wake them back up in the morning to get ready for Saturday morning stuff. But so did you start, obviously you take care of game film from that night. Did you start having an idea who you were going to play in the playoffs?
Yeah, my D coordinator, Todd Ralston, he's always super gung-ho. We started watching film immediately. Even, you can search Huddle on Google and watch some clips. So that type of stuff started happening. And then Saturday morning, we had a senior breakfast. We were going to watch a little bit of film, but it was boring to watch. I told the kids I could barely watch our film. It was just like power over and over again versus Harding. So we didn't watch a lot of our film, but we did start watching Fireland's film a little bit with the kids that morning. They had a nice breakfast with all the senior parents and all the kids. Got to spend some time together, and I think, making memories. 7-3, I think this group wanted more, but on the same note, it's just a cool group of kids, all the way down to our freshmen. They're fun to be around, and we're trying to soak up those memories, and we've been focused on that. And senior breakfast is just one more memory, one more moment, and it's just fun to watch kids hang out together and their parents to get to be a part of it a little bit, and it's awesome we get to have one more night at Heisey.
That's great. Coach, were you guys afterwards? You're pretty sure you were playing Senegalese, because that's a whole different.
We were, but we weren't. The teams that we were looking at, the biggest one was Bluffton and Columbus Grove, 2 big matchup there in Division 6. Half of our staff had watched Bluffton. Half we played Columbus Grove last year and lost in overtime. So we were, taking bets on who would win and who would not. And of course, Columbus Grove won, but then Black River beat Columbia Station, which was an upset, and then Mapleton beat Crestview. So all the people that told me who we were going to play all week and they in this prediction, I want you to know they're all wrong. So we knew that Seneca East was a possibility, but early in the week it was Mapleton. It was like a 50 whatever 4. Somebody told me, I'm not a math guy, but I listen to all these math guys, and they were like, it's probably going to be Mapleton, and they thought Crestview would beat Mapleton. Mapleton won, and some other things happened. So Seneca East ended up being the team we played, and obviously we did the similar things that Coach did on Saturday. We did our normal routine, which is get in the pool, swim, lift, have breakfast, watch a little film. We didn't watch a lot of Buckeye Central. We talked about the possibility that we're probably going to play Seneca East, and those things, and told them it would be official, when it's official, because there was some changes late for us because of a Saturday game. In our bracket, so it didn't really affect us, but you never know till you know.
Sure.
So
with the preparation, so now you're playing a team. You played them in week 6, 5.
I think week 5. Yeah.
I know I did the game.
Yeah.
And so, do you look at or a combination of both? Do you really look at and break down that night? Because it was a game where you guys played really well in the first half, and then the second half. Seneca East played really well.
I think we did both. I mean, we obviously looked at the later films in the season of them because we're a league opponent, we have every film with them and they have every film of ours. So we don't have to do any exchanges or anything like that. I don't think there's any secrets there. But we did, we looked at our film for the first half and the second half, obviously, and the things we did good and the things we did different. And we've played them so much. We played them in the COVID year. We didn't play in the league that year, but then played them in the playoffs. So, they've had a tremendous amount of success over that year. They were Final Four team, I don't know, 5 or 6 years ago. Same coaches, so you see similar things. But you also know that they're going to have a wrinkle that we're not ready for, and we'll hopefully have a wrinkle there that they're not ready for. But at the same time, you kind of both have to realize that you're going to do what you're going to do, and who's going to execute, not turn it over, win the special teams battles. Who tackles better is going to win. So we've just focused on that, and also focused on we can't expect the game to go the same way, or it's going to be a different game, and we just got to play that game and handle whatever it comes up. But at the end of the day, we just want to make sure we win, just like they do, and so that we give them a chance to play one more week.
So have they ever run out of Fooses playing quarterback?
True story. I told him after the game I was glad that he was the last Foose, and that I wouldn't have to see him again. And I don't want to eat my words because I got to see him again. He, great kid and obviously a great player, and just respect, from how he plays the game and how he leads his team and how he runs and throws the ball. But whenever you got a guy on the other team like that, it keeps you up a little bit at night.
Yeah, that's for sure. Yeah. Coach, what have you seen in Firelands?
Yeah, they got a big O-line. Like to run the ball double tight. Kind of reminds me of a carry type team. A little bit different, but similar formations. Really trying to pound it. I don't think I've seen a team run wedge more on film than what they do. They love to run wedge, stretch, ISO, real downhill, and then they have a bunch of different sweep and jet variations. And then defensively, they're a 5-2 team, and they want to get physical, and we want to get physical. I think we might have more of an advantage in spread formations, spread them out a little bit, but they're a solid opponent, and I don't know a lot of the opponents they play. It's not like we have similar opponents, so you can get a real good feel of how we match up. But on film, they look big. I think that's the thing that jumps off. And
another week to go 1-0. It starts tonight up front, you guys. You understand?
This style, it's going to be a smash mouth game, and if you don't play low, we're going to have a tough time stopping their offense.
Okay, great. Dan, got anything?
Well, you guys were just talking. It's got to be a little bit easier now when you're going into the playoffs to prep. When you got sites like Joe Idol, and you can kind of that night you are pretty sure who you're going to play rather than having to wait completely until Sunday and all the number crunching is done. Mm-hmm. Is that an advantage to you a little bit? It gives you a couple more days of preparation, maybe.
Yeah, I mean the game has changed from the standpoint when I was at Bucyrus 10 years ago. You didn't have so many games on YouTube. Like, if I didn't know anything about the Galion Tigers, I could type in Galion Tiger football and probably get a couple games, get some formations, talk, interviews with players, and there's less and less secrets now. So, everybody's got film of everybody, rosters, max preps, all those things, and yeah, it's a huge advantage. I don't try not to spend too much time dealing with things that I can't control or understand like all those decimal points Joe Idol, but I let other people tell me, and once again, most of the time they're wrong. I remember that too. So it is what it is. But you're right. No, it's changed. And kids are so much better. They know other kids on the team and know this person or related to this person or watch this film or watch the huddle clips of this guy. It's a different world.
Yeah, and you guys are kind of in two different situations. You're playing a known opponent, a league opponent. You're playing somebody totally unknown. Is advantages, disadvantages to both of those situations?
I think, for us, you start looking at like week 2 or week 3 of the playoffs, you get matched up with. And I think, at this point, I think the matchup's important. Because, everybody's pretty good that make the playoffs. And especially you start talking around 2 or 3, just to be in those games, you got to be grateful and happy. But the matchup matters. And we match up with certain teams better than others. And I think same when they match up to our offense better than others. So I think that matchup really matters. And the unknowns, I think it's a positive negative. Like if we're playing Shelby again, I think, it would be a fun battle. We didn't play well in the second half, so to get another shot at that would be fun. But on the same note, I think that they know you really well too. So it definitely goes both ways. One thing you said about how it's changed, I remember at Frogtown, we were still driving to trade film, and I just think how crazy that is. Our kids don't get that. And at Madison, I remember we were burning DVDs to hand out to kids because they didn't have internet at home. So, and I'm not that old, or at least I don't feel that old, but maybe I am. So now, you think about it, we get a film at 10 o'clock at night or maybe midnight, and the film's up, and every kid can go watch clips right now from their phone, and every kid has a phone. So, it's just crazy where technology in the world's changed the game of football, but I also think, it still comes down to fundamentals and execution and playing low and fast and nasty, and those things are never going to change.
Well, we're here tonight in the studios, Coach's Corner. I'm Tim Birie. We're with Coach Dick and Coach Bruner of Galion and Colonel Crawford. And first of all, I'd like to thank Rod Steiger over at Pizza Hut. Provided us with some pizza tonight and some drinks and things. And so always thank him and all our sponsors. We're getting, we got into a little bit of the scouting thing and thing. Just curious because of your positions at the school, this isn't Texas football, high school football, where all you guys, where their coaches get to coach football and then that's it, But Coach Bruner, you're the AD, and Matt, you're one of the assistant principals. Do you try to talk to some people now and say, hey, I really need to be the football coach this week. We're in the playoffs. So Jake?
I wish it would be that way. For me, I do a lot of my work on the weekends at home. I'm fortunate, and I think Coach Dick will agree with this, that you have to have a group of guys on your staff if you're going to be successful that can help in that process and that you trust. I spend a lot of time on the weekends because that's when I have time. I don't have a lot of time at school, to get on huddle or look at those things or check the script. So we try to do a lot of that ahead of time. Now, sure, a kid that's at study hall we'll try to bring in and hey, we got to do this week. But fortunate for me is that I have some coaches that are teachers that see the kids and handle some of those day-to-day operations behind the scenes to help me, just because I'm painting a field or I'm getting a volleyball game ready and those things. So I don't know how Coach Dick does it, but I was a high school principal too, and that was one of the reasons for me was I didn't feel like I could be the high school principal and be the head football coach just because of the day-to-day operations. A principal's job, there's no set schedule. Who's walking in, what happens that day, when you're going to get to practice. At least as an athletic director, for me, I have volleyball games at 5:30. The middle school's playing at 5. We have people covering that. I get the tickets ready, those things. So to answer your question, there's not a lot of work that I get done during the school day on football as much as I would like to.
So as an AD, are you happy with the fact that all these tickets are bought online and everything now? You don't have to worry about.
Well, we have to offer cash now through the OH.REPORT.
Okay.
You have this legal now.
Oh, okay.
So we have to offer it, even though it's $15 for a student or adult to pay cash. But if you buy them online, it's $12 and $9. But I'll say this: I know at Colonel Crawford, there are people that are going to pay $15 because they do not want to buy online tickets. And I've told our kids in our community, guys, save yourself money. We're not getting $15 or $10 or $9 or $12. save yourself some money. But there are people that they've called me and said, no, we're happy they're having cash. I'm like, $15 a ticket? You can call Doug. You can tell him I said that's ridiculous. $15 for a ticket. Wow.
Coach, you were saying, so have you ever got a kid sent to you for watching a game on his phone during class?
We have iPads. We're 1-to-1. So, yes, they're watching Huddle on their iPad, but they got to do it at the right time. And we really don't have a big issue with it. Our teachers try to keep kids engaged. As for the time to do football during school, I think it's cool as an assistant principal, I can call a kid in, and we can have a tough talk at any moment. But on the same note, like Jake's saying, I'm busy. It's a really busy job, and it's a hard job to balance. I'm sure AD's the same way. And, they can work with you some days, and other days they can't. And I think finding that right fit, and it's something I question often.
I don't know if the public understands that the AD job is not a gravy job. The job of an AD is a long and hard one through the entire school year.
Yeah, and listen, I was a principal for 11 years. I was a high school principal, and we didn't really have a true assistant principal at the high school, so I dealt with all 9 through 12 discipline and curriculum and evaluations. And, Galion's a bigger school and definitely need an assistant, but, the AD's job is just different. It's a lot of night hours. It's a lot of running to get game change and paint fields and, just schedule and organizational things. So I would say that, on a given day, it's a little more free during the day than maybe a high school principal would be. But, you're going to be gone at night. You're getting home at 7, 8, 9 o'clock at night. I am fortunate that I have 3 children at Colonel Crawford, and 2 of them are in high school and 1's in junior, and they all do 3 sports. I'm going to be there anyways. So, for me, this was a good change for me, and I really enjoyed being a high school principal. But that's a demanding job as well. So.
Sure.
Dave, you got anything?
Well, I was. You guys were answering a lot of the questions that I was thinking about, but I was just kind of reopen the idea of how this has changed for you over the years. And Coach Birie, you and I are talking about how long you've been involved in this, and so it's got to have changed a lot, even from the high school days. Can you relate to the concept of what it was like when you were playing high school sports as opposed to what it is right now?
I can. I mean, it's different. Don't get me wrong. It's a different world. I mean, it's a different. The cell phones and social media has changed so much of our lives just on a daily basis. But at the heart of football and sports, I mean, it is very similar.
The kids don't carry their phones onto the field.
No. They've got a.
I was being facetious.
No.
But to a certain extent, I mean, the kids are glued to those things.
There's a Go Route program. You guys should look this up. I'm not sure you've heard of it. They put cell phones on the scout team, on a belt, and instead of showing the card for scout team, you'll love this. And so you have it set up so if we're playing Galion and the guys are mimicking Galion, you have a coach on an iPad, it sends the play so you don't have to huddle. The scout team looks at their cell phones around their stomachs and literally, so the game is changing as we speak, faster than I can. When I started coaching at Shelby for Coach Solis and Coach Schaefer right out of college, I had on Saturday mornings, I had a DigiScout, which was a handheld / iPad with a pen, and I had to punch the formation, the play, right or left, down and distance. It took about 4.5 hours every Saturday, and I wanted to hurt myself every Saturday when I was done. My head hurt, and then I had to printed off a computer that was like 52 pages, and then I'd watch the coach look through it and then go home, and I'd be like, is that really worth it? So now it's just so much has changed in that field to now. I feel I'm 45 years old. I feel old because I have to have the other guys like, can you make sure the huddle does this so I can get this formation?
How do you feel? I think if it's 74,
But I'm just telling you, that part of it has changed a lot. From a standpoint of kids, for me, the kids at Colonel Crawford are very similar to the kids that I played with at Colonel Crawford.
Because of the culture?
Well, I think it's a little bit of, some of it's the same people. I've got kids on my team. I got a senior on my team whose uncle was the quarterback when I played.
Mm-hmm.
So those families are the same, and the world's different, but kids I think are the same. Parents may be a little different, Our society's a little different. How people approach different things maybe are a little different. But I really think a lot of that goes back to phones and social media and technology in general.
Have you ever thought, we were talking before the show began a little bit about Coach DePietro. Have you ever sit there and think, how would John DePietro handle this?
Well, I think I do, and probably in a better way than us, because we're so attainable from a standpoint of the phone. For parents to text or kids to text me and say, Coach, what time's practice? When I was playing for Coach Cawley, and you got a calendar, you put it on the fridge, you look, take practice is at 2 today. If you lost your calendar, you had to call your landline friend to tell you didn't call the coach. You didn't remember. Now it's kids can't remember. I got to send a remind message out tomorrow to make sure kids know what time practice is and what jersey to wear. And if I don't, the kids will be like, you didn't remind me about my jersey, because we live in a world that everything is sent to us. If I got a dentist appointment, they send me a remind text that says, hey, it's at 11 o'clock tomorrow. So we live in that world, and we accept that world, and now that's kind of how we have to do it. So that part has changed. I think kids in general are very similar to the kids that I grew up in 1997 when I graduated at Colonel Crawford. And I think that's for the most part. I think kids are relatively the same. They just have different things. There's more to do than there used to be. There's more things to do at home. There's more video games. There's more technology. So that's probably what's changed.
One of the things I kind of like to ask both of you guys, and I realize you're in different divisions and regions and so on and so forth, but down the road, locally, leave it alone the idea of what divisions you're in, a game between Colonel Crawford and Galion at the beginning of the season, geographically it makes a lot of sense. It makes a lot of sense for the gate, and I know you're an athletic director, and you got to be somewhat concerned with the money. So I look at it as being a great gate. I look at it as being a great game for the community. You at Winford this year, it just makes a lot of sense, except for the fact that he's going to benefit a lot more if he wins as opposed to you benefiting because of the divisions. Have you thought about that at all?
Yeah, absolutely. I probably asked him about 20 weeks in a row at Pizza Hut for about 3 years straight. Not when Coach Brunner was there.
Yeah.
I'd love to scrimmage them, preview them, play them week 1 through 3. Anytime, I'm in. And we actually got dropped by Winford. I think we got one more year with them. So we do have an opening week 1. So maybe the stars aligned. Matt Tyrell might have called you and said, hey, because he was talking about today, my AD. So you never know, but it's got to be the right fit. And
Winford's already has dropped you?
We are doing one more game. So
why?
I do not know that answer. I think it was Kyle Bond, our athletic director, before. He might have snatched him up from Cardington. So I believe that's what happened. But yeah, it was a great game this year. And like you said, it doesn't help us, playing someone maybe a little bigger, like a Madison, a Lexington,
sure,
something like that would fit us.
Makes sense.
Yes, but the local game, and Colonel Crawford, it's right in our backyard. We have teachers that send their kids there. We have kids that transfer there. And I'm sure Colonel Crawford has the same coming to Galion. And for me, as a guy that, my kids go there, I'm a part of the community. Anytime I could say that Galion's the place to be, that's what that game could be. And the same for Colonel Crawford. It's the same thing they could do. But on the same note, we're bigger, there's a balance.
We played for what, 2000? I mean, I don't think
Hawk and Tag right?
We played. My first year's principal was 2012, so I think we played for about 5 years there. From 2000.
And it was great, wasn't it?
It was great. It was great. I
can't remember what the record was.
I don't think we won a game in that time. I could be wrong. And that I only remember the 12 and I think 12 and 13 was maybe the last 2 years possibly played. I was a principal of one of the years.
How many kids do you have on your varsity level right now?
50.
How many?
Ooh, good question. We're always about 56, but this year I think we're a little low.
You're similar there.
We're similar with numbers there.
But it's that whole situation with the computer points that would screw you and not necessarily.
But he wins if he wins 10.
If we win games,
it's like Kerry. They win a lot of games.
And actually, the only benefit that he doesn't get by beating us is that we're not a bigger division school.
Exactly.
So they're like when we beat Upper Sandusky, who is actually a little bit bigger than Galion, I think. Still, we get a little higher points because they're in a bigger division. So, for instance, trust me, he probably doesn't know this, but maybe he does. I called Kyle Bond last year just about the future because we do not want to go 4 hours to play Hannibal.
Absolutely. Well, I forgot all about that too.
And that's just honestly, those two things happened for a couple reasons. Number one, we had a team drop us in the middle of a contract, which we were in a dispute with the OHSA about. Two, to line up your home and away for week one, which is what we needed. Our options were Akron, St. Vincent, St. Mary's, who, by the way, called me and said they were really down. They beat Senior by 2 touchdowns. And that was a good decision not to play them. The other we had a Granville choice. Granville, who was a Division III school who beat Clear Fork, felt like that was a pretty good choice. We couldn't find a game in Hannibal River who I had never heard of.
Yeah.
I reached out. I looked at the drive. Their coach, who's going to be a Hall of Fame coach, they win a lot of games down there. He said, I really don't want to play you. And I said, well, what I hear about you, I don't want to play you either, but I don't have a lot of choices right now. So we kind of waited and seen. And then we decided, to be honest with you, we probably would have played Liberty Benton if I'd had known, because Liberty Benton had called that week, and we had already kind of settled on the agreement to play Hannibal River for 2 years. They're going to come here next year. So we have the problem. It may work out. The home and away has to work out too.
Yeah.
So that's the other problem. And then league schedule has to work out. So a lot of people don't understand, but trust me when I say this, it's sometimes not as easy as it looks. And obviously you guys know I coached at Bucyrus for 8 years or whatever, and we played Galion as a non-league game. For
100 years, right?
For a long
1896. Ask Predmore, he was there.
That's right.
It was the third longest game in Ohio history.
It was, and I hate the fact that that's not happening anymore. Although I understand it, but I hate that it's not happening anymore.
Well, it was pretty cool as a coach when I was at Bucyrus that I would explain to our kids, guys, it's Massillon, McKinley, it's Troy and Piqua, and it's Bucyrus and Galion. Now our kids didn't know where Sakayan Park was.
Yeah.
We explained that part to them, but that was a pretty cool thing. And I think I'm trying to think of my time in Bucyrus. Were we 4-3 or 3-4 against? It was almost a 50.
It was reasonable.
Yeah, and Coach Hawkins had some great teams at Galion at that time. So there was always a really good game.
I had Galion kids. I was doing a baseball game over there, and I had Galion kids coming up to me. I know where Sakayan Park is now, and they were telling me all about the history and everything. Yep. And it was kind of nice that at least they related to that concept, that a little bit of a local history.
We're going to take a little break, get some of that Pizza Hut pizza supplied by Rod Steiger, and then we'll be back and finish up with coaches from Galion and Crawford.
45, he's got one man to beat. Schieffer with the ball in his left hand. He's going to take it to the house. Whitford opens up the second half with the kick return touchdown. Take a look at all the action from Friday Night Football right here in North Central Ohio with great analysis, highlights, coach interviews, and so much more every single Friday night right here on the OH Report.
Guys, when they announced that they're going to do all the games on Friday night?
You know, I was a big fan of it. I think anytime you change the schedule, it just gets hard. And my coaches, you know, he talked about doing a lot of stuff on the weekends. I really probably Saturday after a JV game, I go to sleep. I sleep for about 4 hours in the middle of the day. Then I work a lot by myself. And then we come in on Sunday at 8. So that routine. And then our kids, how we do practice, how we do lifting, all that stuff. It's nice to have that routine. And I got to experience something different this year playing Winford on a Thursday. And I think that talk with Kyle Ball was, hey, you want to play on a Thursday? I'm like, yeah, we'll make a little more money on the gate. It should be fun. So it was a rainy game, and I'm telling you, there was like 20 things that I didn't even think about that just like punched me in the face. Every time I'm like, oh, we got it, and then boom. And then I think we actually tried to drive through the Bucyrus Bratwurst Fest on the way there, so we sat in a bus for an hour because we made one wrong turn, and I mean, it just was a nightmare. So the idea that you could play on Friday and keep everything the same is really good for coaches, but I think it's also good for kids, and I think it was a good move.
Yeah, to me, high school football is about Friday night. And no one will ever change my mind. It's not about Saturday, it's about Friday night. When I played college football at Otterbein, we played on Saturday opposite of Ohio State because we were in Columbus area. If we played at noon and the Buckeyes played at noon, there was even less people at our game than originally were. But even then, for me, it felt weird. Football is a Friday night thing. And I just think there's something really special that football has to offer with that Friday night, you know, football game. And I'll even say this as an AD, I don't even like the Saturday basketball games because to me it doesn't feel like it used to. To me, it was the week's over at school, everyone's excited to go to the Friday night football game or the Friday night basketball game. And, you know, I think somewhere along there we kind of lost that, and I was really happy to go back. We played the playoffs a couple years ago, or last couple years with Saturdays. Like he said, you have that extra day and you're just not sure. Do you rest the kids? Do you get more work in? It's at the end of the year. You know, how do you readjust your schedule? Now, I was probably behind your Thursday night game, Coach, because we played Thursday night against Hannibal River. That was one of the things. We're going 4 hours away. We're going to play on a Thursday night so that we have a little extra time that first week. We did that when I was at Bucyrus with Ridgedale, and it usually is a better game, but it is different. It is different, and I think only week one, that Thursday night before school starts, can it be, you know, a little better. I do not like playing on Saturdays.
I guess the only advantage would be like Fredericktown, you know, where Matt and I coach together, Winford, you know, they're going like 2 hours to their game Friday night.
Right.
Fredericktown's probably almost 3 hours to get to their game Friday night. Maybe there'd be an advantage of playing that one on a Saturday.
Correct.
But other than that, I think, yeah, Friday night football, and that's why I'm so glad Ohio State's still kind of taking a stand saying we don't want to play on Friday nights.
Right.
You know, that's when Ohio plays high school football.
Right.
And I definitely think that's the way it should be. As you guys are moving on with, you know, in the playoffs, you know, both of you have experienced as coaches, the distractions seem to get more. So were there any this week, and then are you expecting, if you both can get a win, it seems like everybody wants to do something for you, but it's really like, as you guys are talking about already, no, we just want it to be like it always is. You know, we want our schedule, and don't get us off schedule.
You know, I think it's interesting because, you know, Shelby Week, we had a lot of stuff, a lot of hoopla, a lot of pep rally. I think we made some shirts, we drank pickle juice. We had all types of things going. And, you know, I knew it was all bad, if I'm being honest. I knew it was bad. I told them no. And, you know, sometimes parents are excited to do things, the kids are excited to do things. And I think you have to balance. There has to be a balance between making a memory for these kids and these families and moms and dads and little brothers and the junior high kids. And all. I mean, everybody needs to be a part of it in some way. They want to be a part of it. And I think you got to let them in some, but on the same note, a single focus. And I think our since Shelby, we still have some stuff going on inside, but we've done a way better job as a team and as coaches. There's only one goal. It's go 1-0. And I think after that Shelby game, some of our kids, you know, less cared about stats, less cared about all conference, less cared about me and more about the team, and just focused on how we're going to get to 1-0. And I think that this group has bought into that. They're focused and they're excited to play as many games as they can together.
Yeah, I think the key word he said was balance. Sometimes as a coach, you can't control, who wants to do this for the team and who wants to do that for the team, and how you want to do things, but you can't control the things where you're practicing, how you're practicing, what you do each day at practice, and I think that routine is good. I think sometimes we get too distracted with all the other stuff, especially on like he talked about, the Shelby week, the rivalry weeks. Those are the weeks that are really, really hard. So to me, the playoffs, when you play a team, not like we're playing a team that we've already played, but if you play a neutral team, there's kind of less of that, because the Galion kids probably don't know too many kids from Firelands, and the Firelands kids don't know too many kids from Galion. But we're playing a league opponent. Not, at least it's a little distance away, not in our backyard. If we were playing Winford in the playoffs, that would be a huge distraction for being in the rival game and who won the first one or whatever. So I'm thankful that that those kind of things. But I think the key word, like he said, is just balance. Dealing with what you have to deal with, but also try to keep your kids focused on the task at hand.
Coach, you talked a little bit about the couple freshman
Yeah.
kids and dealing with them this week. In college, like the bowl season, the coaches say we love having a bowl game because it gives us this many extra practices, and so you guys are getting extra practices. But for the young kids, who some of them obviously are guys you're counting on. Some of the younger kids you're counting on every now, a freshman or a couple sophomores and so on. What do you do with the young kids? You just same as always?
What our focus has been, this is a different team than I've had before. We have some freshmen that are on special teams, just because we're a young team. And we've got 2 or 3 freshmen that are playing 10 to 15 offense or defense snaps a game, depending on the game. And we have a freshman team of guys that just play freshman football too. So for me, those guys that are not involved in special teams or playing on Friday night or a backup on special teams, I gave them a day off this week. And then when they came to practice, I made sure I told our coaches I want them to practice on our scout team, not every play, but to give the other guys reps. Just because we talked about how extra practice means that our kids can get maybe a heads up for the next year. So our freshmen can get some more reps for them, and I'm one of those guys as I get older, probably getting softer, not just around the stomach, but probably in my mind as well, that, I don't think you have to beat yourself up right now. I think we're all beat up enough. It's a long season. I think you have to, hey guys, do we really need to whack each other as hard as we can? I don't think we do. You are who you are at this point. I don't think going crazy in practice, in week 11 is really going to help you. When we're all dealing with bumps and bruises and kids coming back from injury and kids that are injured or got injured last week or strained this muscle. So that's an opportunity for those kids to get in and get reps, get better for your younger kids, as well as obviously getting your older kids, some reps as well. So
Before you answer, Coach, Dick, have you either one of you ever had a guy that's come back to one of your practices that played for you 5 years ago, 6 years ago, and said, you're a lot harder on these guys than you're on us? All of them always told me, you're getting soft, Coach.
Yeah, it's definitely always you're getting soft. I had a player a couple days ago come out fully dressed. He wanted to practice with us. He was about 3-4 years out. So that was interesting. What Coach said about freshmen, I think it's a double-edged sword, okay? And, get numbers out. I'd love to have 70 or 80 kids out, especially the right 70 or 80, kids that can actually contribute. If you can't play a special team or play on offense or defense by the time you're a senior, it's beneficial for you, but is it beneficial for the team? I don't think it is. So we're trying to get as many guys that can contribute to the team as possible. And one thing we've done with our freshmen, I think last week, we were done with JV, so we did a modified schedule. So they got a lot of indie sessions, and then we kick them out. So like maybe 4:30, 5 o'clock. They got all the lifting. I think they even got a little bit of bonus lifting. But I just don't want them, especially the week before, it was cold, it was rainy. I don't want them standing around going, I hate football. I will do anything I can to prevent kids from hating football. I need them to come back out. They are the most important component of the football program, if we're being honest. They're the lifeline. I did that last year, cut it out, and then I just talked to them. We sat them down, and there's a couple, like Coach Bruners says, that are playing some special teams. They're still there. A couple guys help us out with scout team. They're still there. And anybody that wants to be is still there. All the rest, I cut. I said, hey, go home, enjoy life, and I will see you on Thursday and Friday. And so they're all going to be back tomorrow. It's amazing because every kid's different. And I can remember at Fredericktown, we made like a long playoff run. And I think I had a guard, I think his name was Mitch Hurlbut. He was a sophomore. And Coach Baum gave the kids the same option. He said, hey, you could stay if you want every day, or you can just come back Thursday and you could dress and go to the Friday game. And this kid chose not to come out. And it didn't bother me. I don't even know if he chose to come to the games. I think he just said, I'm good. I think he maybe came to one game and he was eating hot dog and popcorn in the stands. And I mean, Brian Baum, he was so mad. He was like so angry. I mean, he was angry at this kid for months, okay? And I was like, I don't care. I didn't care at all. And that kid started for us as a sophomore, and I think we played for a regional the next year.
So like all state.
Yeah. So I mean, to me, it's like kids are different, and if we're not going to use them in practice, then at some point they've got whatever fundamental. And do they really bring that back the next year? How much do they bring it back? And I think it's like a double-edged sword. You're trying to balance that, and I think every kid's different. And I can tell you, if you said, hey, Coach Dick, you want to stay around for the playoffs, when I was a freshman in high school, I would have been there. I would have been there. I would have carried the water. I would have done whatever you said. I'd just been smiling. But every kid's different, and I think I've kind of realized that the older I coach, and I'm trying to be the type of coach that everybody wants to play for. And I mean, that's the name of the game, and it's easier said than done with how kids are nowadays. But we definitely have tried different things, and we probably tried 6 different methods with our freshmen towards the end of the year, and it's just a balance of what works and what doesn't. I think talking to them is the key, and I got a cool kid, Jamison Glue. He's a funny freshman, and he's always got an answer for everything. So I run something by him, he tells me what to do, and we try it out.
I love it. That's great stuff. Dan?
Well, we talked about the playoffs, and I don't want to put the cart before the horse, but you guys win a game. Let's just assume that all the top seeds win. Explain to the folks that are watching and listening, how do they go? It's different from basketball and they have brackets set up. You guys don't have any brackets. It's reseed after every round, correct?
It is, but I think it's already determined who we're going to play if we would be so fortunate to win. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's still a bracket. Okay, but I do believe that the higher seed is the home team. So let's say 16 beats 1, then 16 is going to go play the winner of 8 and 9, something like that.
Okay.
And
so regardless of which seed wins, you still play that same
and I know there's a
matchup.
clause the OHSA has put in there that they can choose to redistrict anytime they want. And I think the reason is if they're playing a team and Martins Ferry's playing a team up in Toledo, that if they can make a closer matchup, they can do that. But I think it's already set up. For instance, if we would be fortunate enough to beat Seneca East, we would play the winner of Margaretta and Ottawa Hills.
Okay.
Yeah, so. And Coach probably knows who he would play if he has the opportunity to do that.
Probably West Holmes. I don't know who they play, but Kevin Maltridge, a guy I used to coach for at Madison for 1 year. His son, Kyle Maltridge, who was about knee-high way back then, he is now a senior. He's been Conference Player of the Year receiver. So he's been texting me. He's just a dad now. But he's like, hey, are you going to come down to Millersburg and play West Holmes? So who knows? Maybe that matchup will happen. But really, it's about going 1-0.
They play Bryan.
Brian, yeah.
So, okay. Yeah, I think that but it just seems like it's a little bit different feel to it than it is for basketball or other sports that,
Basketball will be exactly that way this year. That is how basketball is going to be done.
Higher seed, yes.
It's going to be some max preps is seeding everybody. Max prep, and then you go on. So if
the coaches don't vote anymore.
Coaches aren't voting, and they're not putting themselves on a bracket anymore either.
Oh, wow.
So it is going to be just like this.
Okay, so they take the district and seed it.
The only question with basketball that I haven't got answered yet is in some of the districts, like the central district that I coached in at Bishop Hartley and Fredericktown. There's so many Division III basketball schools that they have 2 districts.
Oh, wow. Mm-hmm.
And you can choose, so therefore you can choose, depending on which district tournament you play in, determines where you play in the regional basketball tournament. And so, like, when I was coaching at Bishop Hartley, we could either go to Wright State or to Athens. So, fortunately for me, we were pretty good. So all the coaches down that way would call and before the drawing and ask me which regional I was going to.
So you would
So
get
I
first
would-
choice by
yeah.
seed?
Yeah, by
The
seed, I
seed
could say.
can say, I'm going
yeah,
here, or I'm going
I could
here.
say, I'm going here. So I would say, well, I'm gonna go to Athens this year. And so some of those guys that I thought were pretty good would say, well,
We'll go the other
we're
way.
going to Wright State, which was good. You know, I was all in on that. So I don't know how they're going to do that, but otherwise they're doing it just like football is. It's gonna, a computer's going to seed everybody, and
Computers
So, yeah.
take over.
They have.
absolutely, artificial intelligence is going to do it all.
AI.
In answer to Coach Brewer's question, it's Ottawa Hills against Margaretta. And this is going back 50 years. When Coach and I were in the Toledo area, Ottawa Hills was a doormat.
Yeah.
That obviously has changed now.
Yeah, they were 9-1 this year and 8-2 last year. I don't know a ton about them. Like Coach said, we're focused
Yeah,
on.
don't worry about it.
Yeah,
Don't worry about it.
we played Margaretta in the playoffs last year.
Yeah.
So we,
Margaretta's got a long
Yes.
standing thing, and I'm sure Ottawa Hills is much better. But when Tim Birie and I were there, they were pretty much a dormant. First of all, they weren't in the Toledo City League. I don't know what league.
they're in the TAC. They're in the Toledo
They
Athletic
were always in a
Conference.
smaller league because they were a very small school.
Yeah.
Because they're right in the middle of.
Maybe that's the reason they were so bad. They didn't have a place to
They beat us in basketball, I don't know, 7 or 8 years ago in the tournament. You know, it's I've been there. We actually scrimmaged Ottawa Hills when I was at Bucyrus. You know, it was a smaller school and basically our area, so we were looking for a scrimmage. So yeah, but yeah, we're familiar with Margaretta. We played them in the playoffs, and obviously they have Gary Quizno's the coach there. He's a Hall of Famer. He's doing a great job. So,
Coach, who was some of the really surprise kids? I mean, you know, you had Trevor coming back, and you had some guys coming back that you knew could play, but obviously you talked about being a young team. Who's some of those guys that really surprised you?
yeah, I mean, we had a lot of faith in kids, and I think the one thing that I've learned as I've gotten older is to be patient. You know, we had Tyler Smith's one kid that who last year as a junior played JV and was on some special teams. You know, and we everybody likes him. He's a great kid. He works hard. He does everything right. We wanted him to come through for us on offense and defense as a first-year starter, and he did. And you know, Lane Reich, a kid that was a third string tight end last year, is our guard this year, and has had a great year for us. And those are 2 seniors. I can go down the list. Levi Johnson, first-year starter as a senior. And then we needed some juniors from a sophomore year of JV to be a junior and be able to compete. You know, Brennan Reber has got a great year for us, and a freshman, now sophomore, Payne DeGray, has a really good year for us at defensive end and tight end. So you know, he's going to help Coach Sheldon as a post player this year, kind of an old school post player as a sophomore. He's a smart kid. He's a really good football player. We've had a lot of kids. I think when you have success, those kids have to meet your expectations or be better. As a group of kids, we've had some sophomores just wow,
perennials
that
here
have
on
really
OH
kind of
Report.
made a difference. And a lot
Let's
of them in a role,
begin by-
but the role has made the difference in us having some depth and being able to do some things when you have an injury and some things like that. So, you know, that's been something that's been really great for us.
I just think it's so important when you have, you know, some kids, you know, take it as a bad thing when they have to play JVs as a junior.
Yeah.
And it's like, I want to quit, I don't want to be a part of it, you know. But if you're going to be really good, it's always 1 or 2 of those guys. And you guys have had good seasons, but 1 or 2 of those guys have to come through when they're seniors. You know, have to come through when all of a sudden they're a junior and, you know, playing. So, Coach, you know, you've went through all these injuries, so you've had to play some of these guys no matter what.
Yeah, absolutely. We got a good group of sophomores that have really mixed in. Sam Evans, the outside linebacker. Jacob Chambers has been a 2-way guy for us. We thought he was just going to play a little bit of strong safety. He ended up playing slot receiver for us as well. Has really made some plays when we needed him, when a guy like Elijah Chafin was out. On the flip side of that, when Elijah Chafin was out on defense, Alan Carver, a kid that was penciled in as a kicker, maybe some backup, maybe a receiver a little bit. I mean, he has been a starter on defense, I think, for the last 3 or 4 weeks. And he's not a very big kid, but he's a tough kid. He's an athletic kid, and really overachieved. Cody Mason on the D-line. He's a senior. He's one of those kids that you're talking about, a kid that played a little bit of varsity maybe as a junior, but played a lot of JV football. And, he's a 185-pound nose guard, but he is really maximizing his potential. He plays really, really hard. So we've had a lot of those guys, and, it's really been a team effort. And I think different guys have stepped up different weeks, and it's fun to see. And, the cool thing is a kid like Cooper Kent, he's another one that's been a really, I wouldn't say a surprise, but sometimes you just want things to work out the right way. Cooper Kent played quarterback for us as a sophomore. He battled with Braxton as a junior. They rotated in, and Braxton kind of took the lead towards the end of the year. And then Cooper, in the offseason talks, hey, we still want you out. We still want him around. He's a great kid, great leader. And he's like, hey, I want to play receiver. And he really bought into that. And next thing you know, he's starting a corner and he's playing receiver. And really, it's like we can't get him off the field. I mean, I want to rest him for 10 plays. And, these last 4 games, sometimes he plays a lot on one side, sometimes a lot on both sides. And it's cool to watch kids overachieve and especially play above their talent. And, we've had a lot of kids do that this year.
You brought up the kicking game and stuff, and in both you guys' cases, in different ways, Coach, we were talking a little bit about it, but special teams is very important to both you guys. Coach, I mean, we talked about it. You got to have, and Trevor Vogt, who was, the best special teams player in the area last year, I don't know how many kicks he returned for touchdowns, but it was an incredible amount. So you guys end up with great field position, it seems, every time someone's kicking to you because they won't kick the ball to him, and then you got a really good field goal kicker. Coach, you guys have been blocking kicks and doing it all, and you got a really good field goal kicker. Coach, talk a little bit about how you try to get at least so Trevor gets a chance to return one.
I will say Chris Solis, who was, I worked for as a head coach at Shelby. Right. He did a great job as our special teams coordinator. He's always coming up with ways to try to, basically manipulate people to maybe kick the ball. And some people can't kick the ball in the direction they want. So we like those people when the ball goes our way. But like you said, as good as Trevor is, Braxton Morton, man, I mean, I don't know how many points he scored. He's broken every record for us. This year, he added the punting duties. He's never been a punter. To be honest with you, we had a nice little punter the last couple of years. I didn't know Braxton could punt till last year at the end of the year. He punted one, and I'm like, well, that pretty much solved who my punter, is going to be next year. And he's averaged 38 yards for us as a punter. And so that's been amazing to have a kicker that can kick it deep, can make those field goals and extra points, and then can place the ball. I mean, we were working on onside kicks today, and he put some onside kicks up there. I don't know who could catch those. So it's just amazing what kids can do, just 1 or 2 guys can do for you on special teams, as well as, blocking kicks and blocking correctly and fielding it and, covering the kickoff and those things. So it's amazing.
Well, then, Coach, obviously you knew what you had in your punter. I think you were pretty sure. It was safe to say when you had an all-state punter coming back, you knew your punting game was in pretty good shape. But, then he talked about blocking. You have a couple guys that seem to specialize in blocking kicks as well.
Yeah, Coach Almer and Coach Ross have put a ton of time into our special teams game plan, and sometimes I'm watching 6 different ways to block a punt, and that gets a little long sometimes, but it pays off. And we put the time in, and sometimes it's some walking, some talking. It's not real violent, but our kids have bought into it. A guy like Ligon Tyrell has blocked a lot of punts. Jacob Chambers, really, all the defensive guys have impacted those blocks in some way by taking their gap and taking their guy. And then on the flip side of it, Landon Campbell is, he's a weapon at punter. He's first-team All-Ohio kid last year. He's first-team All-Conference already this year. I imagine he'll be first-team All-Ohio. It's an incredible weapon to have. When your offense stalls, you punt it, you play good defense, you get it right back, except you're 10 or 20 yards more down the field. And then Alan Carver, the kid that's playing safety and overachieving over there, and a little bit of receiver, but he can really kick the ball. I mean, he does some cool things on our onside kicks or our pooch kicks, and then when he gets juiced up, he kicks in the end zone. You never know when he's going to kick in the end zone, so that's always exciting. But sometimes he has a little dance afterwards, so he keeps the crowd into it. And he's a fun kid to coach.
Well, guys, I appreciate you coming in tonight. Boy, it's been great having everyone here, but especially you 2 guys. I know you got a few other things on your mind, getting ready. But I guess the hay's in the barn now, and tomorrow you do your walkthrough practice and take it in. Hopefully we both are, give us something to do again next week. Well, you know, you don't have to come in again next week, but we get to cover, hopefully, we'll get to cover both of your games the following week and maybe for a great run. And so thanks for coming in, and thanks also to Rod Steiger from Pizza Hut and for providing our food tonight and has provided it all year.
For 30 years.
For 30 years for Coach's Corner. So, yeah, he's been a great asset to us, and, I always appreciate it. I've gotten to do this on both sides of it, where I've been the coach, or now that I'm doing it on this end. So I've gotten to eat a lot of pizza. So thanks, Rod. But hey,
Thank you.
Great show tonight. Thanks to everyone, and thanks to all our sponsors and everyone else. Travis for taking care of the stuff. I have no idea what he's doing. And John, the engineers, and John. And so it was a great night and a great show. So thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Everyone have a great night.
You too.